I'm trying to work on a project. I need heat for that project. My heat sources are gassing me out. I got the cheaper kerosene. Well, cheaper. It was over $8 a gallon. I was using propane, but it sucked that tank dry pretty quick. So I'm getting smoke. I want to build a new heat source, which will be another video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Funhouse. Today I will be repurposing what's left of my father's old air compressor. As you can see, it's just a propane canister off of a forklift that he welded some heavy feet on, I guess, so it wouldn't hop across the floor, and some mounts for an electric motor and a compressor head. The compressor head has seized up. It leaked. It took forever to fill up before it went bad. And basically I have 3 better air compressors with access to a 4th. So there's not really a good reason for me to get this thing working again as an air compressor. Who even knows what kind of shape this tank is in? It sat in the damp floor for many a decade. So I am going to repurpose it into a fireplace for my shop. The plan is to do as little change as possible, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get away with no change at all. So let me tell you what I have planned here. I'm hoping to leave these, join them together here, cap them in the front and the back, fill in these holes, and put a chimney pipe off the back. And I want to cut some holes from the inside out and basically have the fumes come up into the cavity that will be created under here, go through some kind of a spark arrestor, and then come out through the chimney, where I hopefully won't be sending hot embers out of my chimney to light anything on fire. I'm going to probably put a spark arrestor on the chimney too, but I want to have a spark arrestor right here in the top of the stove to stop the sparks before they begin, and then I'll have another one as a safety precaution out by the end of the tube, the pipe, the chimney. That's it. I want to have a pipe for airflow underneath, and I don't know if you can see, but this design for the air compressor will not allow for that. There's no room underneath. I guess I could make something on the left and right side in those little triangles, but it's resting right on those I-beam chunks. And let me show you what I think I'm going to use for airflow. I have this piece of thin-walled tubing that used to be a basketball hoop. And I think what I'd like to do is cut it a little bit longer than what the fireplace is going to be. And I'll have this be like a damper for letting the air in. I have this exhaust butterfly from a car that I'm going to put in the front. I'll be able to prop it open for more airflow, but this weight and gravity are going to make it want to be closed, which is probably where it'll be functioning once it's lit and burning efficiently. I'm going to probably make something where I can move this and lock it in whatever position I want, but we'll see how it works first before I do that. So this will be welded onto the end of here. I may even weld it onto this and have this be removable so that I can put an air source on here, and I'll be able to force feed air into it and make it burn like an incinerator or a furnace if I want to either, you know, help it get going or make it put out more heat. I just like versatility and options and variety. Once it's burning effectively, though, I can slip this in there. You can see that this will cap it off pretty nicely. I'll have the butterfly out here to control airflow. And once we get back a few inches in, I'll cut down and across the halfway point until I get near the back, where I'll cut out a pie wedge and have it bend in and weld it, make an airtight seal to the tank. And then I'll show you why I'm doing that and what the plan is for that. So this is the belly of the beast. I'm gonna zip these legs off right here, weld in some longer legs to give me a little bit of room under here and give me a little more height, because this thing's gonna be, you know, about 4 or 5 inches off the ground for me to be loading it and cleaning it and working on it. That extra height will give me room to weld that half pipe on there that I told you about. It'll be welded down both sides, and I will make holes in the bottom of here, and that's how the fresh air will get in to feed the fire. I suppose some ash will fall down into the tube. I'm gonna have to be able to clean it when it cools down with a shop vac or compressed air or a scraper that I'd have to custom build. But basically I don't want to impede on the inside circumference of this at all. I want to be able to load it up with wood front to back, top to bottom, and have it be blazing, burning up my scrap lumber and free firewood, wood chips, sawdust, whatever I throw in there. So that's the plan. I guess I'll lay this down, fire up the plasma cutter, and we'll get started. I'm going to lose these bolts that used to hold the motor on. Might as well get rid of this too while we're at it. So the tank is about 27. I think I want the damper to come out to around 34. You know, it'd be nice to cut it on a taper so that it goes from being a whole pipe circumference here down to nothing back here. I think I'll do that. I think I will cut it on a taper so that it's the whole circumference of the pipe down here. Maybe I'll make it longer too to make it a little safer. I'm gonna go with 36 inches of pipe. And it looks like that's gonna work out just beautifully. If I give it a little spin or a tap with the hammer, it goes in there. I think if I clean it up with the wire wheel, it's going to go really well. And I'll just weld the butterfly on there, and then I can always just kind of wiggle it out if I need to. Okay, so I want 26 inches of this tube to be taper, and the rest of it is going to be for sticking out in the front. Now what I got to do is figure out how to go from not cutting out anything here to cutting everything here. And the easiest thing to do there would be to figure out the circumference of the pipe, tilt it by that much, and then stack a piece of wood next to it and draw my line. So let's see what we're working with here. About a 3-inch pipe, which is approximately what 2 pieces of wood would be. And I need that 3 inches starting here. To remove all 3 inches back here. Be nice if that piece were longer. Now we're talking. Okay, just going to do the exact same thing on the other side, keeping my top mark on the top. I've actually got a clamp on here so it can't roll. bottom on top? Sounds almost smutty. Oh, that's beautiful. It's almost like I knew what I was doing, guys. Almost. Alright. So I'll cut those marks. And that'll give me my taper. Oh yeah, that I like. So I'm trying to remove material to get this to sit as close as possible. Now I can always just kind of clamp it or smack it with a hammer and bend it closer, because you can see that's a huge gap in the middle because it probably bowed when I was cutting it. Plus I'm using flat surfaces. I'm going to be cutting and welding to a round object, but I'm going to hammer this to fit a little flatter. I'm going to trace it with the crayon, and then I'm going to make holes that will be inside of where this pipe will cover and feed oxygen to the fire. Keep in mind that we're upside down right now. Alright, so the center line is my center line. I measured off these feet each direction. It was about 12 inches, so I came this way 6 inches, made a mark, came this way 6 inches, made a mark. They were pretty much lined up. And then these other marks, I have to just stay well within inside of them. And I'll be okay as far as... Shut up! I'll be okay as far as not being... If I cut out here, I'm going to have to weld it shut because it'll be a leak. And we don't want a leak on the bottom where there's hot ashes. So, really? It's always something. I'm going to make some holes. All right. Alright, I cut a bunch of vent holes along the belly within the perimeter of that piece that I cut. I'm going to be pounding it on into shape and welding it on in a few minutes here, but first things first, I'm going to flip this around and cut out for the chimney. Okay, I traced around the flange with my metal crayon. Now I'm going to cut that hole out through this plate. But when I cut open for the door down the other end, from the inside, I'll cut my holes in my slots under here that come up into this space. Might as well do all my plasma cutting at once, right? And then I'll do all my welding at once. Shabby. I think since I have access, I'll cut through the outer shell using this hole as access for at least what I can reach via the hole. Okay, I put a strap around the tank, and then I used my crayon to mark where the strap was, and that's pretty much where I want to cut this front off. The ring is going to be attached to the door. That's going to give me a nice flat surface for me to put my hinge on, and a latch on the other side. It's just going to make life much easier. So that's the game plan. I'm going to cut off the front of the tank plus the ring as one piece, if possible. So let me fire up the plasma cutter. Ta-da! What in the world is that? That was a dead snake or something at first. Interesting. Guess I'll flip it upside down and cut my holes. I gave myself a couple crayon lines just so I would stay in between the rails of the channel iron on the outside and not blow past it. It's way skinnier than it needs to be, but better safe than sorry. I'm gonna cut that out, but I'm not gonna record it because we can't both fit in there at the same time. Okay, I took some precautions so I don't burn the place down. I raked away some of the dry leaves. Got myself a Jim's homemade special fire extinguisher there with constant pressure from the air compressor so it never runs out. Put up a little spark shield, some galvanized metal, and basically I'm going to just take the paint off of here so I'm not gagging to death when I weld on it or when I light it. And also I think I'm going to grind this flat, grind away at the outside of this, grind this flat, grind away at the inside of this so that this cover kind of closes tight into this opening. And I'll try to hinge it and latch it in such a way that it seals up tight. I'm probably going to wind up putting some kind of a lip on it with a fireplace gasket, but we'll give it the old college try and see what happens here. I got that about as good as I can get it. Get to work on the tank now. Okay, you might have noticed earlier that I made a reference mark with a crayon that went on here onto the top as I was cutting it off. And while I ground most of it away, there was still a little bit left on the blue here, and I put it back again so that I know that this is how it fit. And as you can see, I do have it fitting inside itself. At any rate, I want to be able to swing open and close on the hinge a little easier than that. So I'm going to, I had put this in backwards, and I slid it in pretty far and pounded on it with a hammer. But now that I got it to fit pretty good, I'm going to grind away at this sharp edge, which has a little bit of a curve and a lip to it, that I pounded most of it out with the hammer. And I'm going to grind away at this as well, and I'll make this smaller, make that bigger, and I think I can make it so that it hinges closed nicely and makes a good seal when it does so. I'll probably give myself a nice long handle for some leverage too. So, back to the grindstone, literally. So now I'm going to do my best to take off some of this paint, again, so the fumes don't kill me when I light it. And once I get the paint off as best as I can start welding.